I drained our savings to fund my acting dreams. He sold my closet to strangers on the street. I thought chasing my dreams would make me the happiest person in this world. Now I'm sitting alone on this empty floor, surrounded by so many people bidding on my shoes like it's some kind of street auction. A lady displays my wedding heels to the audience while treating them like produce she would examine at a store. A man points at my designer coat as he waves a crumpled $20 bill toward Ryan, the coat I purchased at a time when we maintained our lovely life together. The exact coat I used to keep myself warm throughout night times before he disappeared from my life. But now, it's just another item on his head, another thing he's getting rid of. That was me, basically. Everything turned out to be very different from what had been planned. For almost 6 years, I was a wife first, a woman second. I had plans once. Big ones. Acting had always been the dream, but life happened. Bills happened, stability happened, so I put it away, locked it up in a box labeled someday, and for a while I convinced myself that someday would come. I woke up to the realization that I experienced that there is no such happiness. My existence appeared to be very tiny because I observed it from very outside, rather than actively participating in that deeply. I wanted more, I needed more, and I have been dreaming about it. So I took a good break. I quit my job right away without thinking about it. Invested more time in myself. Used the savings we spent years building for our family, believing that if I just use it for myself, then time will pay off. Ryan told me he really supported me with everything I do, told me he really believed in me. But now, looking at him giving out my designer bags to some crazy teenager for $50, I wonder if he ever really meant it. Or if he had been waiting for the moment he could finally prove me wrong, or is he really joking? It started with an eventful dream. I pursued an all-encompassing, reckless, and stupid dream, which I thought would completely change my entire existence in this world. And in a way, I guess it really did. Just not how I really expected it to be. For years, I told myself that I was really enjoying the life I had. A very remarkable job, a comfortable home which was well managed according to my style, a husband who wasn't so perfect, but still he was mine. I felt very safe and secure, predictable, the kind of life most people encourage to settle without thinking about it twice. But somewhere deep down, I always thought that I have to look for bigger things. Acting remained as my permanent objective. I kept my inner dreams hidden away as a secret passion, along with a silent wish to chase my fantasies in the future. But one day never came. Instead, life just kept happening. The things that occupied my day included promotions, along with rent responsibilities, and grocery lists, and tax season requirements. Life responsibilities turned dreams into things which seemed both awkward and self-indulgent. I hid it away because I assured myself those dreams were meaningless. Until one day it did. I cannot recall what started it all. A TV performance from an actress who did not really impress me perhaps served as the initial trigger. My feelings of being stifled by routine made me sense my life pass by like a movie rather than being lived in the present. The bitterness that I chose not to expose was slowly growing inside because I had abandoned something without ever attempting to pursue it. So I did it. I quit my job, told myself that if I didn't take a risk now, I never would, that I owed it to myself to at least try. Ryan didn't argue, not really. He asked if I was sure, if I had a plan. I would understand the true reality of what awaited me. He looked at me with a smile, yet I kept spouting about seizing my future through building potential while finding my passion to control everything before him. He just nodded, said we'd figure it out. I convinced him to dip into our savings. Just a little at first. A couple thousand here and there, enough to pay for acting classes, professional headshots, networking events that promised industry connections. I told myself it was an investment, that every successful actor had to start somewhere, and if I worked hard enough, pushed myself enough, believed in myself enough, it would happen. For a while, I felt alive. Through taking charge, I found myself feeling fully alive, because I was chasing the genuine aspect of reality. My days were filled with memorizing dialogues and training emotions in front of the mirror while I constantly checked my emails for upcoming auditions. And for a moment, I really believed I was on the edge of something big. But obviously the months were passing, and nothing happened. No callbacks, no second auditions. I faced repeated rounds of hope followed by rejection through emails which began each one with, "We regret to inform you." The savings started shrinking. I assured myself that this situation only lasted for a short time. The big career opportunity which I sought would soon appear before me, that I just needed one yes. But instead the bills kept coming. And Ryan? Ryan started changing. At first it was subtle, little things. My statement about needing money for gas to reach another audition made him tighten his jaw muscles. He checked the bank account with more than just a glance and released a sigh in the process. And then, the first real red flag. My performing arts auditions became a subject he no longer inquired about or encouraged me. My father no longer told me that I would get the following opportunity. The way he looked at me transformed because now he saw me as a different person than the one he once looked up to. It was just silence. The only warning I should have received came through that prolonged silence. I should have understood the silence for its actual meaning. The sound of something breaking. Failure is a strange thing. The initial sign arrives as a soft disagreement which you can dismiss since your belief has not entirely faded away. The longer the thought stays, it slowly grows louder until one day it completely overpowers your hearing. By the time I met Liam, that whisper had turned into a full-blown scream. I was drowning in rejections. I returned to the same familiar experience of standing next to many girls who looked similar to me as we recited familiar lines before yet another rejection. All I needed was a suitable chance to reach my goal, which seemed just a step away. The reality was that I lacked special qualities. I wasn't booking roles. I wasn't making money. And Ryan? He had stopped trying to hide the disappointment. His refusal to check our bank statements revealed something vital. He stopped asking about auditions becoming an expected routine rather than a genuine curiosity. He decided to go to bed early to prevent facing the uncomfortable moment of sitting with me when our relationship transformed because of my mishap. And then there was Liam. The industry event became my first encounter with him, though I went there to meet important people and create career opportunities. His presence, along with his achievements, transformed any room into his domain without effort. His understanding of genuine individuals contrasted with the unsatisfying promises that fake actors displayed in workshops. His genuine gaze into my eyes brought forth a feeling that had vanished during my time away. Seen. He told me I had potential, that I just needed to be bold. That talent wasn't enough in this industry. You had to be memorable. You had to be risky. And maybe that was the first mistake. Not the way he looked at me, not the way his hand lingered a little too long when he introduced himself, but the way I listened, the way I let his words sink into the parts of me that were already crumbling. I started confiding in him. Acting became my main focus before everything else. I struggled at auditions when casting directors ignored me, and I remained lost at the edge of my destiny while trying to launch ahead. He told me I was different, that I had it. The correct movements with my hand could achieve great success. And then, somewhere along the way, the conversations shifted. I started talking about Ryan. Throughout the time I discussed with him about the distance which had emerged along with tension and the altered sense of connection. I dismissed the detail as non-harmful. Liam had only become my friend and respected mentor since he understood my goals of breaking into your industry, but deep down, I knew better. The night it really started, I had just come home from another brutal audition. I didn't even make it past the first round. The presented casting director wasn't really interested, and she didn't really bother to look up her clipboard while she managed to dismiss me. I sat in my car afterward, staring at my reflection in the rearview mirror, wondering if I even looked like someone who could make it. And then my phone was ringing. Liam. He expressed a desire to connect me with a producer who could assist my professional career through dinner plans. A producer who possesses the ability to advance my career. He suggested dinner, just a casual meetup. Nothing serious. I should have told Ryan. I should have mentioned it, explained why it was important, but I didn't, because I already knew what he would say, that it wasn't smart, that it wasn't safe. Liam and others in his position receive no favors unless they demand something in exchange. So I didn't tell him. I convinced myself that it was purely professional because networking requires this sort of interaction. That was the typical appearance of professional networking activities. I told myself that success demanded me to exceed my comfort boundaries if I wanted to succeed. The dinner started the way I expected industry talk, the usual lines about being in the right place at the right time. But then the drinks came, and the conversation shifted. Liam had stopped discussing acting matters. He was talking about me. People noticed the way I conducted myself along with the presence I had, which stood out to everyone. Ryan failed to understand the worth of what he possessed. And I let him say it. I should have stopped him. I should have either disregarded or switched the topic while emphasizing my marital situation. But I didn't. The words settled into my heart while becoming increasingly dangerous until they filled the space where Ryan's presence used to be. And then his hand touched mine. Just a brief moment, a small gesture. But it was enough. Because I didn't pull away, it didn't happen all at once. It never does. It started with small things. The false statements I told didn't stick in my conscience as false information. A meeting that ran late. The invitation came at the last minute for an event that I could not afford to ignore. A weekend workshop that required travel. Ryan accepted my excuses automatically since he trusted me completely, and I told myself that trust wasn't something I was breaking. At first, it really was about acting. I still believed that if I just worked harder, networked better, made the right connections, it would all be worth it. But the longer I spent in that world, the more I realized that acting wasn't the thing keeping me coming back. It was Liam. He had made me feel that I meant for more and more, like I wasn't the only one struggling, another lady who was really looking forward to a break. He made me feel like I was already someone, like I had power. He called me his muse, said I had a presence that was too big for an ordinary life, that if I really wanted to be great, I had to be willing to let go of the things holding me back. And for the first time, I believed him, because it wasn't just about Ryan anymore. It wasn't about the life we built, the history we shared. It was about the way Liam looked at me like I was a woman worth chasing, worth wanting. It's easy to pretend that a mistake is just a moment of weakness, that it isn't something you see coming, that it's just one bad choice, one fleeting second where everything spirals out of control. But that's not true. By the time it happened, I had already made 100 little choices that led me there. The weekend retreat was supposed to be about work. At least that's what I told myself. A getaway with industry professionals, actors, directors, a chance to build relationships and be seen. I knew Liam would be there. I knew we'd be staying at the same hotel, and still, I went. I told Ryan it was important, that it could change everything, that this was the kind of opportunity I had to take if I wanted to make it. And he believed me. The first night, I didn't even try to keep my distance. Liam made sure I had the best of everything. A suite with a city view, champagne waiting when I arrived, a seat next to him at dinner like it had all been arranged long before I even checked in. He talked about the future, my future, the kind of career I could have if I was willing to play the game. He leaned in close, his voice low, telling me I was different, that I had something the others didn't, that I just needed to stop holding myself back. I allowed him to be around me and talk to me. It really filled out those spaces that were full of doubts. When we both got in his room, there was no hesitation left. He was kissing me and I was truly enjoying it. His hands traced the parts of me that used to belong to Ryan, and I didn't stop him. There was no guilt. Not at that moment. Not when his lips went straight to my neck. Not when he undressed me. Not when I completely made myself lose into his eyes. I kept telling myself that it's not something to worry about. That it was just a fantasy, a perfect little escape wrapped in silk sheets and whispered promises. That night, I wasn't the woman Ryan married. I was someone else. Someone he was really meant for this entire room, with a man like Liam, in a life where you don't have to look for price tags, and success was close enough with the right people. I didn't think about any after effects because I was completely enjoying myself in that position. I didn't think about Ryan lying in our bed, waiting for me to come back from a weekend I had already ruined before I even left. Because at that moment, the life I had built didn't feel real anymore. Liam was real. The way he looked at me was real. The way he told me I deserved more was real. And I wanted to believe it. So I did. I told myself it was a one-time thing, a moment of weakness, something that didn't mean anything. But that was a lie. Because the truth was, I wanted more. I wanted the way Liam made me feel. I wanted the attention, the validation, the reminder that I was somebody, not just a struggling actress, not just a woman failing at her dreams, not just a wife living in the shadow of a man who barely looked at her anymore. So I kept lying. At first, the lies were small, easy. A meeting ran late, an impromptu networking dinner, a weekend trip for career opportunities. I said the words so effortlessly that I almost believed them myself. And Ryan? He didn't question it, not at first. Maybe because he still wanted to believe in me. Maybe because he didn't want to admit what was already happening. But then he started noticing. The way I came home smelling like a perfume that wasn't mine. The way I pulled away when he touched me. The way I left in the mornings before he even woke up, like I couldn't bear to be in the same space as him for too long. The questions started. Not outright accusations, just quiet, careful probes that I brushed off with excuses, work, auditions, stress. But the tension settled in, thick and suffocating. The way he used to look at me completely changed, like he was trying to look for something that was not there for a long time, like he already knew. And then the distance. The nights he went to bed without saying goodnight. The way he didn't even try to kiss me before leaving for work. The silence. And I should have seen it coming. I should have known that the lies wouldn't last forever, that eventually something would snap. But I was so occupied with this fantasy that I didn't realize that my real life is fading away so easily. The day when this thing happened, I was coming back from an audition. Another failure, another wasted afternoon pretending to be someone else for people who didn't care. I was so done at that moment, defeated. By the time I went to move to our street, I knew something was about to go wrong. The apartment felt different, not inside or outside, the sidewalk. There were people standing around, browsing, picking up things, inspecting them, handing over crumpled bills. And then I saw it, my things, neatly folded. Everything was lined up as it was a boutique or something. Shoes, bags, dresses, everything I bought with this belief that I will be a different person someday. For sale. I didn't even realize I was moving until I was standing there, staring at the mess of my life being sold off piece by piece. And Ryan? He was standing in the middle of it all, arms crossed, expression blank, not angry, not sad, just done. And for the first time I understood. The lies hadn't just caught up to me, they had buried me. There's a moment when feeling ashamed is not just an emotion. It is something that hits you hard, and you have no idea how to make things better the way they used to be. Like the air is turning against you. It felt as if I'm standing at a thrift store, and all the strangers are around me. Some random guy was holding my designer heels, turning them over in his hands, trying to see if it had any issue or something. Then there was a woman who was deciding to get 2 of those bags. Then there was this girl who was checking my anniversary outfit to see if she wanted it or not. And in the middle of it all was Ryan, arms crossed, looking bored. Like this was just another errand dot, like he was trying to get rid of the stuff he didn't need anymore. Like I wasn't standing there watching things that truly meant everything. People were laughing, joking about the price tags he had scribbled onto scraps of cardboard, throwing out bids, asking if he was willing to go lower, treating it like some kind of game. And then I heard it, the words that made the ground feel like it was tilting under me. Everything must go. My wife decided to drain our savings for her acting career, so I figured I'd help her start fresh. He was so loud that everyone started whispering and talking about it. It was such an embarrassing moment for me. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to rip my things out of their hands and tell them this wasn't some joke, some spectacle for them to gawk at. But what could I even say? That it was a mistake? That Ryan had it all wrong? That I wasn't the selfish, reckless person he was making me out to be? Except I was. And this was exactly what it looked like. No excuses, no justifications, no way out. Just me, standing there, watching everything fall apart in front of an audience. Ryan was done. That much was clear. I begged him to stop, told him this wasn't necessary, that we could fix it, that I still loved him, that none of it had meant anything. He just laughed. Not the bitter, angry kind of laugh that comes from someone who's still hurting. It was worse than that. It was empty, detached, like he had already moved on from this, from me, from us. And then he pulled out his phone. Screenshots. Messages between me and Liam. Conversations I barely remembered sending. Words that looked so much worse now that they were staring back at me in cold, undeniable proof. A hotel receipt. My name printed neatly at the top. The time, the date, and then the worst one, a text from Liam. When are you leaving him? There was no talking my way out of it. No spinning it into something that made me look less like the person I had become. Ryan didn't yell, didn't throw accusations, didn't even look angry, just indifferent. Because he had already moved on, not with some random woman, with Emma, the same Emma I had always been insecure about, the one I used to side-eye whenever she was around him, the one who laughed too hard at his jokes, who always seemed a little too available. She was standing there next to him, handing off my handbags to strangers, helping him sell the last pieces of my life like she had been waiting for this moment all along. And maybe she had. Maybe everyone had seen this coming except for me. Update, 2 weeks, 14 days, 336 hours. That's how long it's been since my life unraveled. Since I stood on the sidewalk watching strangers walk away with pieces of me. Since Ryan made it clear there was nothing left to salvage. Now, I wake up in a tiny studio apartment that smells like fresh paint and emptiness, the kind of place you move into when you have no other options. There's barely enough space to breathe, let alone think. The walls are bare. The floors are cold. There's no couch, no table, just a mattress on the floor, and a pile of clothes shoved into a corner because I don't even have a closet anymore. Not that I'd have anything to put in it. The acting career? Gone. The moment I stopped being Liam's little side project, the callbacks stopped too. Whatever promises he made, whatever connections he claimed to have, none of them mattered once my marriage was over. And Liam, he's nowhere to be found. No texts, no calls, no more expensive dinners or whispered reassurances about how I was meant for bigger things. Turns out I was only interested when I was off limits. The second Ryan walked away, so did Liam. Ryan, though, he didn't disappear. He just moved on. Fast. With her, Emma, the woman I always suspected. The one who used to hover a little too close, whose name always popped up in conversations in ways that made my stomach twist. I used to tell myself I was imagining it, that Ryan wasn't that kind of man, that Emma wasn't that kind of woman. But now they have a new apartment, a new life, and I see it all. The Instagram posts, the tagged pictures, him, smiling in a way he hadn't in months, her, looking like she finally got what she wanted. Their new place is bigger than ours ever was, brighter, cleaner. I wonder if my old furniture is in there, if my things are still around, repurposed into something that fits their life now. And me? I sit on this mattress, staring at the blank wall in front of me, trying to remember the last time I felt like my life belonged to me. Because right now, it doesn't. I thought I was chasing my dreams, but all I did was destroy my life. I told myself I was meant for something bigger, that I wasn't built for a small, ordinary life, that I deserved more. But in the end, I didn't find success. I didn't find happiness. I couldn't find any more. I found nothing. I gave up stability for a fantasy, and now I have no career, no husband, no home. Liam was never my future. He was a distraction. And when I wasn't excited anymore, he vanished as if I never existed. Ryan? He was the one who remained until he couldn't, and I had every reason to leave him. Now he's with her, and I'm here, alone. It's easy to convince yourself that you're missing out, that you deserve better, that there's something waiting for you beyond the life you built. But the truth is, some choices can't be undone. Some mistakes don't come with second chances. The thrill doesn't last. The attention, the excitement, it fades. But the regret, that stays.